I think we need to call ourselves into a meeting. Yeah, because how can you measure how people mourn? How can you be impatient with someone's grief? It speaks to a lot of challenges that we have as a country. We talk about cohesion, we talk about unity, we talk about one nation. But if we can't accept how particular groups of people accept death or grief, then there's something deeper. Okay, 45 years of a political career. Now you want to inherit that, right? There are big shoes you're going to have to fill. Yeah. Frankly speaking, impossible.
Impossible, Name?
Impossible. You will only be able to inherit a fraction, not the entire population that he had. You can only inherit a fraction because we're talking about 2 years. We're talking about 2 years. I've talked about 45 years to build. You want to take something that took 45 years? I believe Rigathi was advised. I believe so. And he chose to listen to that advice. Because if you are used to seeing how he normally behaves, can you imagine the insensitivity?
True.
Yeah. And thank goodness it's somebody else who is trending for being insensitive and not him. And not him. Because it would be very dangerous, because this is someone who the narrative around him has been, he only thinks about Mount Kenya. It's only about their shares. It has always been about their shares. And now that they are not in government, ona wao. Vile wanakasirika hapo nje. So imagine if he said something sensitive in that period.
Great to have you on Richard Mwenja exclusive. It's the year of our Lord 2025. The month is October, and we come into you this Saturday, 7:30 p.m., the 25th day of this month. And I'm not alone, as usual, every Saturday. I am in the phenomenal company of the Executive Director of Siasa Plus, Madam Nerima Wako, here with me to unpack conversations that are shaping Kenya's political and governance landscape, especially at this monumental time in Kenya's political landscape. Of course, so much is happening now with the exit of Raila Odinga, our late Prime Minister. Already shifts are being seen, seismic shifts in the political scene. We want to understand deeper about all these issues. Nerima, great to see you. How are you doing today?
Good to see you.
Looking sharp as always.
Thank you.
All white. Peace is your message.
Yes, it is. Even though it's a cold, rainy morning. Yeah.
Fantastic. Nerima, of course, you had predicted that with Raila Odinga off the scene politically, then there's not just going to be a seismic shift for players they are in, but also we're going to witness a number of political funerals. But even before we get to that particular point of this conversation, let's just backpedal and even look at how the nation mourned Raila Odinga, especially from the lenses of President William Ruto. We saw him grant the late Prime Minister a state funeral. And even in his speeches, you could tell he really wanted to celebrate him and he was really acknowledging his legacies. But some have sat back and had an alternative view, and they believe the president has been speaking to the voters and not really to the mourners. Is that take quite true from your lenses?
It is true. It wouldn't be unusual for him to do so. Every time there's a large audience, he is speaking to the voter. We can talk about Chan. We can talk about even moments in terms of national holidays. He's constantly speaking to the voter and trying to convince them otherwise. But what I'll say is it was a very historical moment. And I'm glad that we got to witness different cultures. For me, this is ordinary, this is home. But it's unfortunate that there was impatience from certain quarters. I think we need to call ourselves into a meeting. Yeah, because how can you measure how people mourn? How can you be impatient with someone's grief? It speaks to a lot of challenges that we have as a country. We talk about cohesion, we talk about unity, we talk about one nation. But if we can't accept how particular groups of people accept death or grief, then there's something deeper that we're not questioning as a country.
A fundamental question.
Very fundamental. Even for me, by the way, in my own groups, hey, I was fighting with people. I couldn't keep silent. I was like, no, here, it is lack of decorum, respect. Me, I spoke up. I know there are a few people who have probably looked at their friends in a different light.
Yeah, many of them.
Many. And it's quite early because a lot of times these tensions happen toward an election where you start to see certain comments and narratives. The fact that it's happening this early in terms of not near an election, I wouldn't see it as a complete tragedy. I think it's an opportunity for us to recognize these are the weaknesses in our society, and are we willing to come face to face with them? I believe one of the most eye-opening moments was to just see the way Uhuru Kenyatta was accepted, to see how he stayed over with the family. You know how that is important, and to be able to see him grieving with the family. I think there were strong messages there that it's not necessarily a collective. There are individuals who have taken a stance in terms of we're not going to go with a certain tribal agenda. And I think he was also sending a message. So not only was Ruto speaking to voters, Uhuru was as well, very powerfully, not through his speech, but through actions.
Through actions. And something interesting, I mean, has just clicked in my mind. Repeatedly, we had Mama Ida Odinga just talk about how Uhuru has been a true friend to the family since way back, and he stand with them to every measure possible. Just how much of a message was that, especially to opponents of Uhuru Kenyatta, or who are looking at Uhuru Kenyatta as already a cloud that passed politically in Kenya?
It's a strong message, you know, especially to Luo's Western solidarity. Yani kusimama na watu. And Rao was big on that. Like people just felt like he will stand through for us. And so that was a stance of solidarity. So it's not the amount of money you can throw at people. It has never really been about the amount of development you can bring. It's been about community. And he brought that out. And I honestly, truly believe that a lot of people, not just thousands, millions took note. The undertones, even though they might not realize it directly, there's now a sense of almost an allegiance to him. So even as we're watching these political alignments, we're seeing him also building a base within Western, within Nyanza. And that was very interesting to see. And so as much as they were saying that they've been friends for a long time, he showed it, you know, even going back to the gravesite.
True.
That means something. We're trying to see people using the sense of custom, tradition, and culture and blending it. Because, you know, we also saw people now being announced as Luo elders. We're seeing almost like a grappling for relevance and for power. Yeah, we're seeing that. And it's going to be interesting to watch over the next few weeks. And you could see that it was genuine. You could see that he felt at home with the family, and they felt at home with him. He didn't look imposed. And that was something that we haven't had access to as Kenyans. And I think this was a moment that, it being historical, we were able to now have privy to, that we wouldn't be able to have access to previously.
Not just Uhuru Kenyatta, the former president. We've seen also Governor Sakaja also pay a visit after the burial of the late Prime Minister Raila Odinga. But some now are questioning Sakaja's, gesture, and they're saying maybe he's just trying to play catch-22 and just now grappling with the relevance issues and just trying to maintain his influence. So all this adds up to sort of performative mourning kind of scenario. And some have said, it was just enough for you to come for Baba's burial, but thereafter there are other ways you could grieve, other than doing exactly what your other politicians are doing. Do you think this all amounts to that now performative mourning for selfish interests?
Politics is performance. It's an art, it's a stage, and some people are better actors than others. But I would say let's remember what happened before all of this in regards to Sakaja. he was basically grappling for his position. We were so sure he was going to get impeached. Remember, the MCAs had actually come together, organized. We have never seen them that together on anything or any matter, but to impeach the governor. And it took Rao to have a sit down with them, a sitting, and basically searching for a compromise. So what we're witnessing is him trying to continue that conversation, that promise, even though Rao is not there. And, you know, that's why he was there with Junior, and sort of trying to show that the legacy continues, the promise continues. And this is someone who is grappling with, what ticket am I going to go with? And if I go for Nairobi, we know that Babu is also eyeing Nairobi, even though he's not announced it. But we saw how Babu was received. Even at some point, they were reducing the volume of the cheers because they didn't want him to appear as popular as he was. And people assumed that that was only going to happen in Nairobi. It didn't just happen in Nairobi. And remember also, before Babu left, he mentioned that, you know, there are plans for people who are planning to attack me at Baba's funeral, but, you know, with all due respect, let's not focus. Remember also, when they were mourning and ODM, there's also a video of him saying that, you know, when I left the home of Mama Ida, people were cheering and calling me out, Babu, but this is not something that I wanted to focus on. So you can see that we have someone on this end where he's quite popular with the public, and he's trying to say that, no, this is not something I'm encouraging. I want to focus on the moment. And on this other end, we have someone who wants to capture the moment to appear popular. So you can see the different narratives at play here. So I'd say, yes, it was definitely a performance. Is it going to support him?
Tell me.
I know. It's going to be very difficult for him to get that support. It's going to be difficult, as much as Ruto is going to try as much as possible to gain grounds within ODM in terms of keeping this broad-based government. We're already seeing the splinters, the groups, the fractions. They will be fractions. The glue that was holding them together is gone now. And so we're now going to see the reality of the sides, because I don't even think it's going to split in two. There will be several fractions within ODM itself.
Talking about splinter groups that are going to emerge, they've already emerged from within ODM party. And there's now the Wanga Junet-led faction. There's now the faction of the old guards who believe in Baba's legacy and who want to stand true to it. The Anyang, Nyong'o, Orengo. And then there's new generation, the third group, Kaleba Misi, you name, talk of Edwin Sifuna and Babu Owino. But each group claims to have Baba's instructions on the roadmap for ODM going forward. But for Sifuna and even the Orengo faction, they believe Baba never left a roadmap beyond 2027, just between now and 2027. But the Wanga say they're in government with President Ruto, and that's where Baba left them, and they're going to pay their allegiance to President Ruto. So if indeed ODM is going to have these splinter groups and maybe now collapse, will that now be the death of democracy in Kenya from a political party standpoint?
I don't think it's the death of democracy. It's actually the birth, a new birth. And I say this because remember the history of Rao. He walked out of parties, started anew. This is what his legacy was about, different voices. There are several parties because of him as well. He had a hand in that. And so the breakaway is just going to be the birth of new faces, of new parties, of new legacies. And I believe that this is important because when we look at our political parties, they are used as vehicles, very short-term vehicles to achieve power. And they say they are based on ideology, but the fact that these two could come together so seamlessly, and they are not the only two. Previous governments have had coalitions before. It just shows us that their ideologies are not that different or separate from each other. It's about regional-based ethnic voting and blocks. So of course, you know, Governor Wanga is going to be on that side because we have seen development in Homa Bay. She has benefited greatly. There was even a point where there were rumors while Gachagua was being impeached that potentially, you know, she was being viewed as a possible number two. And not just her, there was also fronted Waiguru, there was also fronted Kindiki. So of course she's going to stick to the broad-based, because broad-based has brought a lot of benefit to her county. And she will want to fulfill that promise, because if you look at her future in politics, there's a ladder. Now, without the broad-based, will a ladder exist for her? Without the broad-based, will a ladder exist for her? Can she capitalize a national appeal without ODM? That's the greater question.
She has allies by her side, Kaluma, you name it.
Oh, name another one.
Oh, P1.
Okay, maybe, but even that one. But even those allies, right now, what people are concerned about is Gen Z. It's going to be the young people's vote. Do young people identify with her as much as they identify with people you've mentioned, from Babu to Amisi to Sifuna? Do they? And this is going to be a huge stake at play. And people know that, but they want to deal with it later. They want to deal with it later because, frankly, they don't quite understand the Gen Z. They'll say that, yes, young people, they are not loyal. Some of them will tell you, all we need to do is buy drinks, alcohol for them.
Yeah.
Tunawaosha, you know? So they'll focus on women, they'll focus on chamas, they'll focus on churches, they'll focus on institutions that are solid. Gen Z is a swing.
Even with the Nyota program, meant for these Gen Zs?
Another one, yes. Even with Nyota program, even with it.
Hey.
And so they don't know. So I feel they'll be double dipping, they'll be two timing, where people will be focusing on the clusters they are used to, and sometimes touching on young people, but not banking. Not banking on young people. But there are people who can bank on young people, and those are people like Babu. And so as much as, you know, they talk about, you know, following with their legacy, it's going to be hard to follow a legacy, especially with a majority population that doesn't understand that history. They don't.
They don't.
This is brand new for them.
We've had conversations with you before, and we've looked at the future of ODM, even, I mean, now post Raila Odinga. But now the bone of contention is whether Edwin Sifuna, the SG, will survive in the party and actually thrive while at it. And Nerimwako, let me pick your mind on something. When it comes now the future of Edwin Sifuna as the SG of ODM party, is it now a question of if or when it's going to happen, his ouster?
When? Remember, even we were here, we were talking, and I said I would have much more respect if they walked out, Babu and Sifuna. And we mentioned here, and I said the time would be now. Now look, a circumstance has now forced you to make that decision. This was way before. It was months before where we said I would have much more respect for them if they walked out now. Now they will be forced to walk out.
And now my question is, in whose hands is ODM safe without Baba in the picture?
Hey, you know, interestingly, I see someone that people are not really paying attention to.
Tell me.
Winnie.
Winnie Odinga?
Yeah. Yep.
Could come back from Iala and take the party?
I actually see a popularity that people, I mean, they, you know, even when they, I know even though you've sat up.
I want to hear what's going to come next.
It was very, me, I like to monitor social media.
Yeah, true.
Right? I'm not that active. But then I'll read certain comments, and it was interesting to see how her speeches were received.
True.
That was very fascinating to me. And I think she's a very still, deep water, not very loud, not very in your face. But if you are to look at historical moments of Baba, even, for instance, one, let's think through the swearing in at Uhuru Park.
Oh.
She's in the background.
The people's president swearing in.
Yes, she's there. By the way, she's there. She's always just like a few inches behind, And this is someone, for me, I think she carries a lot of wealth, intelligence. She knows so much more than she plays off to know. Me, I see her, honestly, as a silencer. Lethal, lethal, but appears very quiet. I think she's a sleeping giant.
A smiling assassin, you could say
Yeah.
that politically.
I do. Like people, I do.
Right, fantastic, Nerima. So then again, well, we are now faced with a hard question, especially now from those who supported ODM and even those in Kenya Kwanza. They are faced with a hard question that if the president, maybe our leader, is now to inherit Baba's supporters, does that journey starts from now incorporating the Odingas into his cabinet? Because some have proposed that for you to remain with Baba's supporters, get Winnie into your cabinet. But the question would be then, is he ready to play now to the repercussions of that? Because this means he has to sideline some regions. And the biggest casualty could be the Mount Kenya, which has majority in his cabinet. Don't you think that will be a tough gamble for the president in the first place?
I believe it will be a tough gamble, but there's also something, there was a narrative around Githinji. And that's also important to note. You can sort of see people playing around with narratives that, hey, maybe we can forgive each other. Because we're not quite sure politically what this future looks like. And so you can see that there's a cluster of people experimenting with perhaps that rift between Mount Kenya and WSR is not as deep and as divisive as we thought.
Even with Mutai Kaiga's comments?
You've seen the comments that, I've never seen UDA react so fast like that. You've seen.
I've seen it.
We even had to apologize, resign from the Council of Governors.
In record time.
Record time. And then we see the likes of the SecGen of UDA saying there are going to be repercussions. I have never seen such quick turnaround. So there's definitely a shift within UDA itself. Where they're like, okay, this is not the narrative that we want to appear to support and ignore. We definitely don't want to ignore because the situation that we're in is very, very fragile. But let's talk about inheritance.
True.
Okay? So, first of all, we're talking about someone who had a career of 45 years in politics that you're inheriting from. 45 years. Me and you are not even that age. Let's just be frank.
Yeah, honestly.
45. Okay? 45 years of a political career. Now you want to inherit that, right? There are big shoes you're going to have to fill.
Yeah.
Frankly speaking, impossible.
Impossible, Nelly?
Impossible. You will only be able to inherit a fraction, not the entire population that he had. You can only inherit a fraction because we're talking about 2 years. We're talking about 2 years. After about 45 years to build, you want to take something that took 45 years, you want to take it in a year.
But don't you think he already has a head start? If you look at the number of MPs who have already paid allegiance, their political loyalty, have committed to pay their political allegiance to the president, talk of Sam Atandi, talk of George Kaluma, and a few others therein. Don't you think, yes, it could be a Herculean task within the 2 years, but it stands a good chance of inheriting a bulk of Baba supporters?
But Richie, remember how we vote, or maybe it's going to change this election. I think people are going to be keen about issues. How we vote, a lot of the people you've mentioned come from particular areas in our country. There are people who, because of the party, 6-piece, they don't care your name. In fact, they know your name later. There are people who made sure they paid for Baba to say, mpigie huyu kura.
Nerima tosha.
Now that's gone. That's gone. There's nobody, there's nobody right now who can come in ODM and say, huyu tosha. There's no one.
Not even whether the candidate will invoke Baba's name. That won't be a sure guarantee for support.
It's not a sure guarantee, which goes back to what I said, where a career of 45 years and you want it in 1.5, you're not going to get the entire.
I get it now.
You can only get a fraction. Because you will have people who, yes, they like you, maybe your personality, maybe you've brought about development, maybe when a relative passed away, you sent a contribution, they remember you.
You brought cows, bulls.
You brought bulls.
And wrote your name on it. Or gender.
Exactly. There are some people, by the way, they connect with that. There are some people who connect with that. That's why they'll say, "Nitampigia huyu kura." That's why I said, the only way you could get those people is because they existed in Baba's pot. So you can only get a fraction. You cannot get his entire community. That must be earned with stripes. You have to earn your stripes. Yes. And for you to earn your stripes, it has to mean a history of moments where you've stood with these people. And that's why I say Babu has his own cluster. Because even remember Mandamano, Babu was there.
Yeah.
Even remember Owen
Mingling with the protesters. Without security.
Who was climbing over the fence trying to get to the protesters June 25th last year.
True.
While the rest were running sijui underground, kuna wengine wali faint because they saw people entering bunge. Running underground trying to get away from the people. There's an element of, and also Baba had this, where when politicians or other leaders are going in this direction, ako hii side peke yake tu. You understand? That's Babu. And that's what earns stripes with the people. Where even if he's alone on a mountain speaking whatever he's speaking, he will be on that mountain alone. Baba did that so many times, alone.
The same cannot be said of upcoming politicians, Kasmuel Makoure. Nerima, let me pick your mind on that, because there are those who've said now they have been left with the youth wing of ODM, and they are going to now make it endear itself to the masses. Is that going to be a chase after the winds?
Who's in the youth wing?
Kasmuel Makoure.
He's the one who leads it.
Part of ODM Youth League, and probably now the face of it.
So, me, what I'll say, politics, you need to have a constituency. And the constituency is not online. Otherwise, tutakuwa kama Peter Kenneth hapa. You know, we have a lot of followers.
Was that necessary, Nerima Wako?
I had to give an example.
Why are you reducing us to digital wanking when it comes to supporting some people out here?
I had to give an example. You know, even with me, people would think, yeah, this chick, she's also just online. Like, let me tell you, when I go to my communities, me niko na ground. Yeah. You have to have people that you can call. You're about to have a town hall, you need 100 people in that room.
You can summon those people without commercializing them, Nerima?
I have enough friends, yes. Yes, I can. Very confidently. In very many places in this country. Yes. So me, I'm not sure. Because with politics, your power is your constituents. Your people.
Not your tweets?
Not your tweets. So me, I am yet to see his people. Yeah.
You're yet to see his people.
Yeah.
Nerima, well, the nation is still mourning the loss of Prime Minister, the former Raila Odinga. But even then, Rigathi Gachagua seems to be a man on the receiving end of critiques. People are questioning him that probably you've not mourned Baba enough. A statement on X was not enough. And he missed out on a number of ceremonies that were honoring the legacy of Baba. What would be a word for Rigathi Gachagua? And was his missing in action a strategy that probably could play to his future and even present in politics?
I personally think that Rigiji was one of the most honest people in that time. I feel there are people who are forced to say something.
Was a truthful man of God through it all?
I think so. Because even right before Rao's passing, there were some comments that he made. There are some comments that he made about Rao, insensitive. Yeah. And I believe he took an introspection. You know, it made me view him differently. As someone who blabbers a lot, yani, you even get to go to Meta na unaandika one time. You know, like, you don't even write your name, I was here. Yani you're just someone who, yani ni mtu wa kelele, you know, kila wakati. And then he read the room. He's like, this moment here is sensitive. Let me keep my mouth shut. Yeah. I was like, okay, kumbe he can keep quiet.
For once.
For once. Me, that's how I viewed it. I was like, anyway, the dude read the room and he kept quiet. And I think that was authentic. Rather than, even people who are saying that's not enough, so you would rather have someone in your face who lies to you consistently, and you know it's a pretense. Why are we living in that fairy tale? May like truth, by the way, Richie. Me, I'd rather have someone who tells me to my face, by the way, sikupendi. And I'm like, oh,
Point
really?
blank.
Yeah, point blank. And I'm like, it's okay.
I see a devil.
Yeah, sio lazima. Yeah, and there's a saying, better the devil that you know than the angel that you don't. Because someone will come here pretending to be an angel. Oh, we are feeling for you. Oh, tuna. Alafu wanaenda nyumbani hapo. And then them they are having parties. Wanacheka. I mean, show me the devil that you are. Don't be an angel in front of me. I respect people like that. Because at least I know what I'm dealing with. At least I know what I'm dealing with. And that's where that saying comes from. Keep your enemies close. Yeah.
Sycophants further away.
Further. Those ones you are not sure.
Praise and worship orchestra, you need them once in a while to
For
boost
what?
your esteem.
And then they're, so you want people, when the king is naked, they're telling you, by the way, uko na maguo.
Tutam.
Zinakaa poa.
Ni kumi bila break.
Glowing. Me, I don't want that. If me, I'm naked, ebu tell me I'm naked, unaenda wapi? If someone is leaving the house, unakaa kama sijui chokora. Mbona hujachanyua nywele? Tell me to my face.
It's that courage in politicians or a leader that you would respect.
Yes, I will respect it. I mean, I feel, in fact, that's how advisors should be. So that, you as a leader, you don't have to take all the advice, but you take what is useful. I believe Rigathi was advised. I believe so. And he chose to listen to that advice. Because if you are used to seeing how he normally behaves, can you imagine the insensitivity?
True.
Yeah. And thank goodness, it's somebody else who is trending for being insensitive and not him. And not him. Because it would be very dangerous, because this is someone who, the narrative around him has been, he only thinks about Mount Kenya, it's only about their shares, it has always been about their shares, and now that they are not in government, ona wao. Vile wanakasirika hapo nje. So imagine if he said something sensitive in that period. It would have been very easy to create another tribal narrative around it, very dangerous, because they appear to be in one side. He would have hit the nail on the head and said, look at these people, they sit on one side and only them. So I believe it's important because even when they're trying to build this united opposition, it cannot look like a Mount Kenya thing.
It makes sense. Baba Nerima Wako has been the face of the opposition, and he still is posthumously. And if you look at even the state events that were there to honor his legacy and to mourn him, you could clearly tell that the opposition, the united opposition, was sidelined. They were never really given a space to amplify themselves, or at least to celebrate a person who's been a signpost of opposition and been there for the people. It's only Kalonzo who took to the stage, albeit under short allocated time. We were expecting people like Martha Karua to at least be given a chance, those who've been with Raila through thick and thin. And Nerima, so let me get your mind on this. Did you find it as the most better way the government could have handled the situation about bringing on board opposition during Baba's mourning?
I believe that during Baba's mourning, the tributes were not about governance. It was the personal attributes, characteristics. So them given more time to speak would be about their relations with him, their connectedness to him, and moments that they remember about him to share with the general public. Because like for many people, this is when they were connecting or receiving a lot of information about Baba that they had no clue about, or they simply forgot because it's not really something that's printed in our history books to know. It's not common knowledge. And so there's something that happened that I want to highlight first. There was that point when Uhuru stood up to greet Kalonzo. This is very interesting to me because as soon as Kalonzo walked in, you could see that, you know, he stood up, due respect, to went to greet him and welcome him for coming. And in that moment, all the cameras were on him. You know, we all saw the walk, you know, and how he was happy to see him. There was also an undertone message there, you know, him also paying his respect to Kalonzo, who also ended up being one of the only speakers. So for me, I think that the message was clear. Opposition was given an opportunity to speak. And as much as you would want the different faces of opposition, it also has to be organized that they say that they represent one group. So a representative from the one group was given an opportunity to speak. So I wouldn't say that it was completely minimized. Could it have been better? Yes. But then also not everybody is going to be able to speak. Otherwise, we would be stuck until the next day receiving speeches from people if we were allowing every single person to speak. Because there are also important people in Rao's life who never spoke, who never spoke on that day. And Kenyans will never know who those people are. So for me, I'm proud as a Kenyan that we can have such an event. And I mentioned this also last week here, where there are countries where opposition leaders are in jail.
True.
Hey, we don't have to go far. Tanzania,
Kwa mama.
Uganda, people are in house arrest, people are in jail.
What happened to Jumuiya yetu? A powerful prayer and call to action on paper?
Yes, even South Sudan, you know, that happened. So, I mean, as Kenya, and I say this quite often, we tend to forget that as much as, yes, we'll complain they were not given, but the fact that they are in the space, they've been invited, they have the freedom to participate without fear or intimidation. That is the living, breathing democracy of our constitution.
You don't have to take to the mic.
Hey, apana. That, I mean, we often just, you know, brush aside and not realize how important it is. Because even our neighbors, just hapo tu, hata hiyo sio mbali na boda ya Busia na kuingia UG. Where you can't even, there are no opposition leaders. Anyone opposition is basically abducted, arrested, and jailed. I think that's very important to compare and to highlight that those freedoms still exist and may they never close or minimize.
Nerima, you've always advocated for a strong East African community and even Africa at large, that even in our fight for democracy, we go as a family of these states within Africa, and more particularly within East Africa. But when you look at the case of Bob Njagi and his colleague now missing in the picture, and now we're looking at a case of abduction, all thanks to their voice, and they are seen as the elements within opposition in other countries that you don't want them to bring this habit or manners to this or that country. And it only begs one question, Nerima, and I asked this a few seconds ago. Do you feel we are living a lie every time we talk about Jumuiya yetu?
Yes. You know, at the moment, Ruto is the head of the East Africa community. And we have had, you know, Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo missing for more than 20 days. And the habeas corpus in the courts basically saying that the military and the police don't have them. This should be a sounding alarm for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It is a complete failure on Kenya as a state. Simply because, you know, even when you talk about Uganda, you're like, okay, militarized, and would say they don't really have functioning government institutions. Kenya does. We do. So how is it that citizens of Kenya can go missing in our neighboring state, the East Africa community, that our president is in charge of, and it's silent? We are watching our states fail.